Okay, just stop whatever you're doing for a second and actually look at what the PS5 is pulling off lately. We've all been burned by those insane trailers that end up looking like a toaster running out of memory at launch, but over the last couple of years, console graphics have quietly shifted. We are officially past the marketing gimmicks and firmly in the "is my PS5 about to melt through the desk" phase.
Let's start with Crimson Desert, which finally dropped a few months back in March after what felt like an absolute eternity in development. If you ever played Black Desert Online, you already knew Pearl Abyss doesn't play around when it comes to visual fidelity, but they really went overboard here. It's an open-world action RPG, and the sheer scale of the map is kind of exhausting to think about. We're talking massive combat encounters, dynamic weather, and fully destructible environments. Visually, it pushes the baseline PS5 hardware right to the edge. There's a specific boss fight in the rain where the mud and water interact with your character's clothes in a way that looks straight up photorealistic. When you're fighting your structures, things don't just break, they shatter into actual physics-based debris. It gives the whole world a really heavy, grounded feeling, assuming your console can maintain 30 frames per second while everything is exploding.
Sticking with massive open worlds, Where Winds Meet hit the console late last year, and it actually just got another performance update a few weeks ago. What they're doing with the environmental rendering here is quietly incredible. The way the wind affects the massive fields of grass, the dynamic season changes, and just how dense the ancient Chinese towns look while still maintaining a stable frame rate is genuinely impressive. It focuses a lot more on exploration and narrative alongside the actual martial arts combat, meaning you can actually take a breath and enjoy the view between getting kicked through a stone wall. The landscapes alone look like concept art that someone forgot to unrender. If you missed Wuchang when it launched last July, you missed out on one of the most stunning Souls-likes on the platform. It's set during the Ming Dynasty, and it's gorgeous in a way that games designed to make you rage quit usually aren't. Most Souls-likes go for a completely dark, gritty, depressing atmosphere because apparently joy is banned in the genre. Wuchang has plenty of that, but it balances it out with these moments of actual visual beauty. You'll have bright cherry blossoms blowing across the screen while a boss aggressively deletes your health bar, and temple architecture that looks like an art team spent years designing it. If you like the rhythm of games like Sekiro, it's definitely worth picking up because the world design here is doing some serious heavy lifting. Now, Death Stranding 2 has been out on PS5 for about a year now, and it just recently hit PC a few months back, but visually, it might still be the most ambitious project on the entire platform. Hideo Kojima does not make conventional games, and this thing looks like it's actively trying to confuse us. But the facial capture technology here is operating on a completely different level than the rest of the industry. There are cutscenes where you genuinely forget you are looking at a video game asset and think you're watching a movie about a guy delivering packages in the apocalypse. The environments look massive, alien, and strangely beautiful. I'll be completely honest, if you aren't into slower, narrative-heavy, eccentric games where a puppet talks to you from your belt, this one might not be your thing. But as a pure technical showcase of what the hardware can do when pushed, there isn't a better example out there. Khazan dropped over a year ago in March 2025, and it looks like the team at Neopol took all of their 2D animation expertise and just poured it directly into a 3D action RPG, because they could. The art style is really what makes this one stand out. It isn't trying to be photorealistic at all, which honestly feels like a relief on a list full of realistic graphics. Instead, it leans heavily into a stylized, cel-shaded, painted look that makes every single frame look like a dark anime panel. The enemy designs are wild, and the animation on your abilities has this distinct hand-drawn energy you don't usually get in a dark fantasy space. It runs incredibly smooth, too.
My friend.
Capcom's RE engine did some serious heavy lifting in Monster Hunter Wilds, and it looks way better than I think anyone's frame rate counter was expecting when it launched back in early 2025. The monster designs have always been top tier, but now they're placed in massive environments that actually react to them. When a creature runs through tall grass, the physics engine actually displaces the foliage realistically, instead of just letting the monster clip through the world like a ghost. Weather systems shift dynamically mid-hunt, and the monsters will literally give up and look for a cave if the storm gets too annoying. The detail on your armor is also absurd. When you're sitting at the camp gearing up, you can see the exact texture of the scales and leather materials you spent 3 hours grinding for. It almost makes the repetitive trauma worth it. This one usually surprises people who aren't deeply embedded in the hardcore RPG community and prefer their games with magic and dragons. Instead, Kingdom Come 2 gives you historical medieval Bohemia, which means no fireballs, just a massive generational upgrade to mud, chainmail, and manual labor. But man, does that mud look incredible. The facial animations are some of the most expressive in any RPG right now, to the point where you can vividly see the regret in an NPC's eyes. The way clothing moves, the way natural morning light hits the stone castle walls, it all just feels completely lived in. It's not the type of game that hits you with a massive explosion in the first 5 minutes. It's the kind of game where you're 2 hours in, you stop walking to look around a forest, and you realize you've spent 10 minutes staring at hyper-realistic moss. Look, you've obviously heard about this one by now, and a ton of you have probably already lost your sanity trying to platinum it since it dropped back in late 2024. But it would feel totally wrong to leave it off a list about graphics because it completely ruined the curve for everyone else. Game Science put out a title that makes high-end PC setups sweat, and somehow the PS5 hardware didn't explode trying to handle it natively. The sheer variety in the environments is staggering. You go from dense, foggy forests to massive snowstorms, and every single biome looks like a separate team spent 5 years perfecting it while ignoring their families. The boss designs are so visually complex that there are plenty of moments where you're mid-fight and you honestly forget to hit your buttons because you're just admiring the particle effects seconds before getting flattened. It set a brand new benchmark that other developers are probably still quietly resentful of.
Stellar Blade is the oldest game on this list, launching all the way back in early 2024, but even now, it easily holds up against everything else on your dashboard. The character models are ridiculously detailed, the combat animations are fluid, and the enemy designs are some of the most creative, deeply disturbing things I've seen in years. It's great. What I keep coming back to visually is the contrast in the art direction. You're running through these completely desolate, ruined environments covered in dirt, but your main character looks like she just stepped out of a high-end salon with a pristine 0% humidity blowout. It creates this hilarious visual tension, but it works. If you own a PS5, it's basically a mandatory purchase just to prove to yourself why you bought the console, or for 2 or 3 other reasons that shall not be mentioned.
All this talk of you being the chosen one, it ends here.
Finally, we have to talk about the one massive game left on the horizon, Phantom Blade Zero, which is locked in to drop on September 9th. The fact that this Studio S-game is actually managing to make this hyper-fast wuxia-punk combat hold up without the console turning into a mini space heater is a minor miracle. They've run public demo tests, and players are confirming that the engine isn't just faking it for the trailers. The reflection maps on the weapons, the rain-slicked streets, and the way the environment shatters during a heavy combo are all running natively on the actual hardware. If they actually nail the optimization at launch this September, nobody has an excuse to make an ugly game ever again. So, that's 10 games that are completely redefining what we expect from console graphics, whether they're already sitting in your dashboard or dropping later this fall. Let me know in the comments if I missed a game you're currently playing or hyped for. Hit subscribe if you want more videos like this.